Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. And today we will be talking about Madagascar to Escape to Africa. Now, Madagascar 2 starts off with Alex getting ready to fight a baby rattle lion. So, so So we see Alex at the cub getting ready to fight his rattle, which is the lion, and we and we meet his father, Zuba, the leader of the pride, the alpha lion, and he tells his son Alake that, do you see this, Mark? You and me are the same. And when you are big and strong, you're going to be alpha lion like your daddy. But he says first you need to learn how to fight. So he gets the baby lion rattle, but baby Alex doesn't want to fight. He just wants to dance. So he is dancing, and his father is trying to get him to focus on the baby lion rattle so he can learn how to fight like a lion. You know, when he gets older. So while this is happening, Alake's father Zuba gets a visit from Makunga, and Makunga is there to challenge him to become the alpha lion. So they begin to fight, and Zuba takes his off and Zuba takes his eyes off Alake, because back then Alex's name was Alake. So he takes his eyes off of Alake just for a minute when he's actually fighting Makunga, the other lion. And he did tell Alake to pay attention, but Alake, being a sweet little cute little baby lion, lost focus because he saw a beautiful butterfly. And while he was chasing the butterfly, he got captured by hunters. And 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 when Alex's father won the fight, he said, that Alake is how you attack. And then he looked back and says, Alake? Alake! And then it turned out that the truck took him. And then Alex is like, Dad, help me. And then the dad tries to get him out of the box, but then the truck goes so fast that he bounces off the box. And it turned out that the truck took a wrong turn, and it actually dumped Alex in the river in the box. So while the dad is still chasing the box from off the reserve of Africa, where Alex is originally from, Alex was screaming, Daddy! And then he ended up in New York as the dancer and as the performer in New York City as Alex the Lion. And then this is when we meet the kids Melvin, Gloria, and Marty. And can I just ask, I thought it was like very creative for the film to take this turn and to show us Alex's backstory. And I have to say, in my opinion, I just really wish we could have seen all of their backstories going forward with the films, because I know that there are three, and so I really wish we would have seen all of their backstories, Gloria, Melman, and Marty's going forward. So anyway, so we skip to them being adult, and Alex being in New York City doing his famous roar, and And Marty says, I still think he's kind of a show-off. And then they all talk about going to Connecticut. So they're at the train station trying to catch a train to Connecticut. And then the people are mourning the zoo animals. And in the next scene, we still see them leaving for New York from Madagascar. My question is, what time zone did they go to Connecticut? Did they try to go to Connecticut in the first movie? Because I don't remember them going to Connecticut. I remember them going to the Wildlife Preserve Zoo. So what timeline do you guys think that the second movie, Escape to Africa, takes in? Because I was like very confused when Marty said that he wanted to go to Connecticut, which he did say that in the first movie, but only Marty in the first movie wanted to travel. None of them wanted to travel. So what changed their mind? And was it Connecticut that they wanted to go to? Because I'm just confused on what timeline. Do you guys think this is? Drop it in the comments. What timeline do you think it is? So anyway, on the way to the train, King Julian says that he will be coming with them on the plane. And then Alex says, no, no thank you, you don't need to come with us. And then Julian says, yes, thank you, it's my plane, I'm going. So they stop Mort from coming. Poor little Mort doesn't get to come, but he still makes it on top of the plane and tells Alex to open the door because he's outside. But since Mort is on the wing of the plane, Alex just thought that he was dreaming. So while everybody is on the plane, they talk about how Alex has Madagascar on the brain because he saw Mort on the back of the plane. And then Gloria says, you know, when they get back, she might sign up for the breeding program. And and she actually tells them, you know, you guys, I think that we reach a point in our lives where we want to settle down and have a relationship. And then Melman says, like, dating. And then Gloria was like, yeah, dating. And then, while they are all talking, Melman goes to check on their drinks, and it turns out that Maurice and King Julian are in the back, so the back means first class at this point. So when they're in the back in first class, King Julian tells King Julian tells King Julian tells Marty to go back because it's nothing personal. It's just that they are better than them. And it turns out that the penguins have lost fuel in the plane crashes. And and Alex actually tells Marty that it looks like this is the end, Marty. So I just need to tell you that you are a good friend. And I also broke your iPod. And then Marty was like, "What? Oh, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna, I'm gonna hurt you. I'm gonna hurt you, Alex." And I'm like, he broke your iPod, and you guys are plummeting in the air down to the ground. So, yeah. I don't think an iPod matters right now. And Gloria was sleeping at this point, and Malman actually told Gloria that he loved her. But since she was asleep at this point, he didn't hear. But Melman, but Alex and Marty heard what Melman said. And then Melman tried to backtrack like you love the beach or a good book or going out to see the sunshine at the beach, like that. But I'm like, just tell the girl how you feel. And that's another thing. They never had any build up to Melman and Gloria's relationship, in my opinion. So I just wanted him to like have a crush on her, for them to go on walks or something around the zoo, to become best friends, and then just have Melman have a chance to tell her in Africa. I mean, he does, but I just feel like, in my opinion, that they never had a build up. I just think they're trying to just. Never mind, I'll get to an end to later. So, it turns out that they land in Africa. And the plane is destroyed. And then Gloria wakes up and she says, "What did you guys do to the plane? I cannot take a nap without you guys destroying the plane." And Melman is sitting right by her, breathing in a bag because he is so nervous. And it turns and the penguins are happy because they landed safely, in their opinion. And then Alex actually tells them that this is no time to celebrate. How are we going to get back home? And how are you guys going to fix this plane? And then Skipper tells him that 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 we will fix the plane. Don't worry about it. And you and your friends go look for supplies and water. And then Alex said, "Fix it? How are you gonna fix this?" And then Skipper says, "All right then, you're in charge." And then Alex says, "What gives you the authority to put me in charge?" And then Skipper says again, "All right then, I'll remain in charge." And then Alex says, "That's right, you will remain in charge." And guess what? This conversation isn't over. And then he walks away, and then Gloria asks, "Hello, how on earth are they gonna fix this plane?" And then, and 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 then Alex says, a lot of spit and gritting, a lot of spit and a lot of gritting. And then Marty says, "Hey, you guys, as long as we're together, we'll be all right." And then a tour chief car comes up and takes pictures. And then Alex says, hey, people, we need your help, people, stop, please, stop." And then we get to see the old woman that we saw in the first movie, and her and Alex have a showdown. And the old woman, just like she did in the first movie, ends up beating Alex's butt. And then every person on the bus cheers and says, "You think an old woman can't take care of herself? Next time I won't go so easy on you." And then they leave. And then Gloria says, "Are you out of your mind? We need their help. And you're over here harassing little old ladies?" And then it turned out that Alex grabbed her purse, and he has the cell phone, and then Alex tries to call somebody, but since the cell phone is out of range, it didn't work, and they said, "Please call back soon when you are in another place where you can get signal. Goodbye." And then I'm like, did you just really try to use their phone? Because the last time you did that, you sounded like a lion, and then they couldn't understand you. But at least he tried, though. And then it turns out that Alex went to go with his friends to see what they were looking at. And it turns out that there's a whole lot of zebras and a whole lot of hippos and a whole lot of giraffes in Africa. And everybody finds their place. Like, Gloria finds herself a boyfriend in Moto Moto, and Melman becomes a doctor in Africa, and Marty finds himself a group of zebras, and it turns out that Alex is reunited with his dad, but Makunga tells Zuba that he was wondering, when are you gonna ask some of the other lions that you're gonna banish your son? And Makunga says that it's nothing really, but me and the other lions were talking, and they were saying how he never went through the rite of passage, blah, 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 blah. So technically he can't be a member of the pride. And his father tells him that the rite of passage is where a group of lions show off their skills, and the dad says it's like a talent show type of thing. Now keep this in mind, because Alex does dance. He is a performer. But keep this in mind as the story continues. So it turns out, so Alex wants to do the rite of passage. He wants to do the tradition. He actually wants to do the tradition and to become Alec the lion. So they take him to his old bedroom and they bond a little bit. It's a very, 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 very sweet bonding moment. And King Julian is just loving it there. He is dancing. Meanwhile, with the penguins, they stole the truck that the people were riding on to build the airplane, right? And they turn out that they find another group of people in the woods, and the old woman tells them while they're all panicking that you can let nature get the best of you, or you can get the best of nature. And she ends up building a fire and giving them a speech, and end up saying, "We are New Yorkers, right? When we needed buildings, we build skyscrapers. And when we needed water, we build rivers. If we can make it there, we can make it anywhere." And then they all cheer. They all cheer. So anyway, while they are building the plane, it turns out that that Phil and his friend, who I can't think of the name of, the monkeys from the first movie, has been helping them build the plane, but they left to get other monkeys to help. And then they actually tell Skipper that we found you some other hands, Skipper. And then it turned out that he's got a whole group of monkeys like him to help Skipper the penguin and his other penguin friends, Karofsky, Rico, and Private, help him build the plane. But he was about to fire them, but then he changed his mind when he saw that they got him extra help to help build the plane. So they took the cars apart and they are helping to build the plane. And then back with Alec, he actually gets beat up by Tinsy. And then his father tells and and then and then and then Alex tells his father, "Well, I told you that I am a king. I am the king of New York. It's my stage name for when I perform." And then his dad says, "Perform." So his dad never told him that this was a fight, and I really do think he shoulda. But I guess the father thought, because Alex said that he was the king, I thought I think that his father thought that he was the king of New York, and he let no other animals bother him. So I think that's what his father thought when he said that he was the king of New York. So since Zuba doesn't want to banish his son, he gives up. He gives up. He gives up being. He actually gives up being the alpha lion, and Makunga ends up taking his place as the alpha lion and gives Alakay a fruit hat to wear, and then he banishes him to leave the to actually leave the pride with his mom and dad. So they end up leaving, and 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 Alex's dad says, "You should have told us, son. You should have told us that you weren't a real. You should have told us, son. You should have told us that you weren't a real king." And then Alex and and then Alex says, "You never told me I had to fight anybody." And then his and and then his dad says, "You're a lion, aren't you?" And then he says, "Yeah." He 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 he, he says, "Yeah, but I never fought another lion." And then and then and 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 then Alex says, "The truth is that your pal Makunga set me up back there." And then and and then Alex says, "You know, Father, none of this would have happened if..." And, and his father cuts him off and says, "If you were a real lion." And then Alex walks away. And he says, "A real lion. Thanks, thanks a lot." And so, back with Melman, he ends up fixing a broken leg on a little boy giraffe, and the other giraffes tell him that he has witch doctor's disease, and he says, "Joe, our last doctor, he had witch doctor disease." And then all of a sudden, it was Monday Joe, Wednesday no Joe. And then, and and then Melman is confused because he's never heard of this disease. And then, and 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 then the other draft says, "We will have a lion look you over. They'll be happy to. Hey, at least you got 28 um, 25 hours." And poor Mort is still trying to chase after King Julian. And he gets and he gets to an island where he gets chased by a shark all the way to Africa. So, back on the plane, Alex tells Marty that his dad thinks that he's a total loser. And Marty says that is definitely not right. And then he says, no. Marty says, that is definitely not crack-a-lackin'. And then Alex says, it is lacking in the Kraken, my friend. And then Melman gets ready to tell them what the other drafts told him about he only has 2 days left to live. He starts to, but then Gloria showed up, and then Gloria's so happy, and Gloria says, "Is this place great or what?" And then Alex says, "I'll go with the or what." And then Gloria says, "Well, I'll tell you what. You guys are not gonna believe it, but I got a date with Moto Moto. Do you guys know what Moto Moto means?" And then Marty says that it means hot hot. And and then Gloria says, "Okay." And then Gloria says, "Okay, when did you start getting to know African language?" And then Melman and 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 then Marty says that it is in his blood. And then Melman and Gloria get into an argument, and then Melman says, "Well, you can be with Mr. Hot Pants after I'm gone." And then Gloria says, "What's your deal, Melman? Why am I the parade and you're the rain?" And then Melman says, "Why would you want to drag your parade under my reign?" And then they get in a fight, and Melman says, "By the way, Main Street is mine." And then Gloria says, "Well, you can have your Main Street, your Main Street." And then Melman says, "And you can take your hottie top float." And then and and then Gloria says, "Well, my hottie top, what? Well, I guess I will go then." And then Melman goes, and then Gloria goes, and then Marty and Alex tries to talk to them and says, "Hey, I thought you guys were friends." Melman, Gloria, And before this, Alex says, Melman, why don't you just tell her how you feel? And then Melman says, I don't know what you're talking about. I do not feel anyway. And we all know that's a lie because he just said on the plane before they got there that he loved her. So since they all walked away, it turned out that the zebra that Alex was talking to wasn't really Marty. And then him and Marty get in a fight, and Marty says, you're saying that there's nothing unique about me, that I am just another ordinary zebra. And then Alex says, no, of course you're different. And then Marty says with the other zebra, how? And then they get in a fight because Marty says, it's always about you, isn't it? And then and and then Alex says, it's just that my problems are a little bit bigger than yours, Marty. So I couldn't tell you apart. So what? Big deal. And and since you've been walking around with your new friends, I've been having the worst day of my life. And then Marty walks away. And 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 then after Marty walks away, Alex says, Marty, please don't go. And then King Julian talks to Melman, and he tells Melman, what do you got to lose? You go right up to this girl and you tell her how you feel. And then Melman says that he is going to do it. He's going to go right up to Gloria. He is actually going to go right up to Gloria and tell Gloria how he feels. And while he is running to see Gloria, we see Gloria on a date with Moto, and she asks, what does Moto like about her? And he can't think of a single thing to say. But Melman's, on the other hand, he tells Moto what's what. He said, you better treat this woman like a queen. And he called her the perfect woman, and he knows everything about her, and it's just like, oh. And then he was like, that's what I would do if I was you, but I'm not you, so you do it. And then when Melman walks away, he says, okay, what, anyways, where were we? And then Gloria says, well, you said I was like no other girl that you ever met, but you never said anything else. And then it turned out that the watering hole on the reserve have dried out, and there's no more water left. So Makunga tells Zuba. Before this, Alakay offers to fix. Wait. After the watering hole dried up, Alex goes back to the village and he tells the villagers that I will bring back your water because it's just a clogged pipe, just like we get in New York all the time. I will find the source and I will bring the water back. So while while Alex is off to find out what happened to the water, everybody says how much they miss Zuba and how Zuba should be in charge and not Makunga. So Makunga says that he will go talk to Zuba as an as an added measure. And the mom tells Zuba that Zuba, a miracle happened. Our son came back to us. And we lost him once. Let's not lose him again. Just because he likes dancing more than he likes fighting. And I'm like, thank you, mother. So Zuba is off to go save Alex from bringing back the water because the people may be down there and he doesn't want Alex to get hurt. So it turns out that Alex went to go apologize to Marty, and Marty says, okay, I'm in. And Alex says, no, Marty, you can't come with me. It's too dangerous. And then Marty says, I don't believe you have a choice. So they walk off together and they find the source of the water. And it turns out that the people have the water and that they created a little village of their very, very own back on the Africa reserve in the woods. So after this happens, and Alex brings back the water, and I forgot to tell you guys this one thing. Before this happens, King Julian says that he can bring back the water by offering a sacrifice to the water gods. And then it turned out that Melman offers himself up as a sacrifice because he only has a few minutes to live. Because of that fake disease that he thinks he had. Because of that fake disease that he thinks he has. And then he tells Gloria, I just want you to know that back at the zoo, it was never to the prescriptions or the doctors that kept me going. It was always you. Seeing you every day, that's what kept me going. And if I have to sacrifice myself to get you water, it'll be all worth it. And so Gloria tells Melman to wait because she needs to know that he meant that he meant everything he said back there. So As Melman is on the volcano, about to jump, Gloria stops him and says that he can't do this. And before he falls, Gloria catches him and says, Melman, I gotta know, did you mean anything you said? He was like, of course I did. And then, and then, and then, and then this is the sweetest thing, because Gloria says, that's crazy. And then Melman, and, and then Melman says, it is. And then Gloria says, it's crazy because I had to go halfway around the world. I thought I had to go halfway around the world to find love, not knowing that the perfect guy for me was right next door. And then Melman says, well, I guess it's just you and me, neighbor. You and me for 18 hours. And then it turns out that Joe didn't die because he's a draft. They are supposed to be covered in brown spots. So, while this is happening and and Gloria and Melman got together, it turned out that Alex told Melman and Gloria that Marty told Melman and Gloria that Alex is in big trouble because the people has got Alex now, and the old woman is trying to cook Alex into chicken for their dinner. Well, not not a lot. Well, she's not trying to cook him into chicken. She's trying to cook him into a casserole. And it turned out that the dad found out where he was with the people. And the dad tried to scare them. But when Alex gets free, he starts dancing for the New Yorkers. And then they all know that it is Alex from Central Park Zoo. And then, while that is happening, the penguins are discussing with the monkeys that they want to leave. And not work on the plane anymore because they want to go on vacation. And so Gloria says, enough with the talking, man. Let's get the plane going. And then and then after this meeting, and then Gloria says, I want to get this plane going right now. I want to go home right now. Let's get the plane going. Let's do this. And then Phil and his friend tells him, if you don't get the plane going and if you don't let us take a vacation off from working on this plane, I will make sure this gets off on the savannah. And it is pictures of him and his girlfriend, who was the bobblehead. And this is the bobblehead from the first movie, because I think the bobblehead was in the first movie, I think. So Skipper says, all right then, we'll do it. And they actually help. The penguins actually help. The penguins actually help. The penguins actually help Alex and his dad escape. And I forgot to tell you, the penguins were actually funny in this movie because at first they pretended to be dead so why while one was pretending to be dead as a distraction, the other penguins hot wired the Jeep so they could drive it. And in the first Madagascar, the penguins did help rescue Alex and the rest of the animals by distracting them as offering private as a dessert with whipped cream and the cherry on top of its head. So the penguins are actually funny in both movies, and I can see why they got their own spin-off with the Penguin movie and with the Penguin of Madagascar movie and their own TV show on Nickelodeon because they are very, very funny characters. The penguins are. So, with that, with Alex and his dad dancing for their dancing to distract the people, it turned out that the woman was actually gonna barbecue them, but the plane got there just in time to rescue them both, and they gave Makunga the old woman's purse, and so they dumped the old woman out onto the ground. And when she saw the handbag that Makunga was holding, she actually grabbed Makunga by the ear and actually drove him away. So we never seen him again. So so it turned out that Zuba is the king of the lions again. And and Zuba says, "Actually, son, this belongs to you." So now that so now they all so now they got the water back, and Mort finally reaches King Julian, and he almost goes into the volcano, but King Julian and Maurice catch Mort, and it turns out that the shark actually goes to the volcano, and since the shark was added as a sacrifice in King Julian's opinion, he thinks that the water got back because of him, but no, it was actually Alex and his dad that brought back the water. So it turns out that Alex and his father Zuba are gonna rule the pride together. And in the next scene, we see a wedding. And I literally thought it it was um it was Gloria and Melman getting married, but no, it was Skipper and his and that bobbled head doll. What It was actually Skipper and the bobblehead doll that are actually getting married. They're actually getting married. So after the wedding, they said they will come back when all the gold runs out because they found gold down there when they were trying to dig for water. So 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 the penguins take the plane and they say, "We will be back when all the gold runs out." And then Alex says, Dad, it looks like you're stuck with us for a while. And then he ends up doing Alex's move and doing the face move. And then they end up dancing together. And then it turns out that they all turn toward the sunset and they go dancing off into the sunset together with King Julian and Maurice and Mort following right behind them and dancing into the sunset. And that is the end of the movie. Bye, and see you guys in my next video. Bye!